Hiya! Welcome to another episode of Magic Key Chats podcast. To all who come to this happy chat, welcome. I'm your host, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. I'm Amanda. Good to meet you.
All right, today we're going to talk about one of the topics we all know I'm passionate about is technology.
Your thoughts on how technology is currently being implemented and used at the Disney park today?
In my thoughts, I still think it's overused. The fact you got to schedule everything, you have to rely, everybody's their heads at their phones way too much for not just enjoying being at the theme park.
Yeah.
I loved Fast Pass and Genie Plus. Everybody knows it's false, and I think the convenience of it is actually made it inconvenient because at least people I know, no people who wants to pay the $20 per ticket. Like if it's just me going, like sure that's one thing, but you got families of 5 or 6 having to pay $20 a ticket extra on top of Rise of the Resistance. You're paying extra $15-$20 per person to ride that. And I think it's actually making the standby queues longer because people are now refusing to use it. Because whereas Fast Pass, the only inconvenience of it was you had to physically walk to the ride, click the little thing, get your paper ticket, and then come back at a later time. Where Genie Plus, now anybody and everybody, if as long as they're in the park, can schedule their Genie Plus, and at least the times I've used it, I mean, first thing in the morning, I go try to get Genie Plus for, say, Space Mountain, and all the times till 8, 9 o'clock are already booked. And it's like, well, especially a brand new family, like only there for 2 or 3 days, I'd be pretty upset. I wanted to ride like Space Mountain. I can't do it.
Pass holders who are going for just going to get a snack or hang out in the park or spend the day or can go frequently aren't necessarily. And by the way, I know pass holders who do and who do get Genie Plus and stuff like that. They're spending the whole day. It's usually when they're with other people. But for the most part, if you know the lay of the land, you're like, "Oh, this is a time where it might be lower on this ride or what have you." But it's really those people who have one day or are taking their family on a trip and everything's telling them like, "Oh, well, you gotta get this because then you don't have to wait in all the lines." Especially if you have young kids and you're going for the first time, you don't know what to expect. You're like, "Well," I have friends who wanna take their kids and they're like, "Hey, give me the lowdown, like, hey, we're gonna do Genie Plus." And I warn them too. I said, "Listen, here's how you wanna use Genie Plus," because I know the first time I had ever used it, I noticed halfway through the day same thing you were saying, right? The earlier in the day, you're like, "Oh, here's all these times and cool," and it's kinda, misleads you a little bit, and then, the later you get in the day, it's the next maybe if you're lucky, you get an 8:30 time at, noon. And then the other thing is you can't use it, you can only have 1 booked at a time. So it has its flaws, but, I mean and I wouldn't even go as far as saying, bring back the kiosks, even though, I didn't mind them, but, you needed a physical ticket when you had the kiosks too, because you need to put, your ticket in, back when they had physical tickets, which is another topic we can talk about when it comes to technology, physical ticket. I was never a fan of it, but also, I don't mind waiting in a line, but when the line times and how they fluctuate,
Yeah, all the lines but Space.
if you're as long as you're not waiting in a 1-hour line for every single ride you're gonna go on, I think part of the fun is being in a line at Disneyland, or at least it used to be. I know people are like, "Lines are not fun." It's people we're gonna talk about people watching at some point, but don't look at me all weird like that. If you're with people, it's conversation. It's I'm not talking let's stay in a 2-hour line and, oh my gosh, an opportunity to enjoy your snack, to, talk with people. Depending on the ride too, there's a lot and I think they should change the way they feed their lines and I wanna say it was a prior to COVID. That's gonna I'll mention it a lot when I talk about things where I am making a lot of distinctions because I do think that part of it is the pre-COVID versus post-COVID effect on a lot of these things, where it's not just "Oh, over time it changed." But I do think that being shut down for a year, but also coming back with the certain restrictions has adjusted and changed the way that lines flow. Because I'd be in line for Guardians of the Galaxy or Haunted Mansion, and I would notice this is not an episode on lines, but we'll get there one day, and just the flow of it, where the line was constantly moving versus you have, these times where you're just stagnant for, a really long time, and then the line starts moving, but then you're, moving a whole gap, and if you're, you know let's say Haunted Mansion, for example, they have all those gravestones and they're really fun and entertaining. If you've never paid attention to the names on the gravestones, in the line queue, have you at least noticed that there's gravestones there, where the gate is? If you're in the line queue, in the middle, at Haunted Mansion after the garden.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the ones with the puns on them.
Like rest in peace or whatever. So it's like those kinds of things, like they're there to like pay attention to and enjoy, but you miss a lot of them with the way the lines are cued, which brings me back to our technology thing, which I think also is affected by these lightning lanes. So what I noticed is okay, so back to fast passes, right? Back when they had fast passes and you had to go and you get your ticket.
Does that make us dinosaurs?
In case no one knows what we're talking about, as Ryan mentioned earlier, you would go, they'd have these kiosks, you'd get your thing, and it would tell you, "Come back at this time and turn your ticket," which is kind of the same thing that, like, you scan on your app, and you would go into a separate line, which is the same thing. So a lot of these rides, they didn't have to do anything other than change it to Lightning Lane versus Fast Pass line or
Yeah,
whatever they call it.
Fast Pass, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, one of the
So now they're Lightning Lanes, right? So you go down these so you're in 2 separate lines and you're kinda like, "Ooh, I got a Lightning Lane," like, I'm excited because you're in a separate line that, like, runs a lot quicker because there's less people in it. But now and the way it worked was basically, like, they would just alternate, like, feeding both lines. But what I've noticed is that they do not alternate feeding both lines in a fair manner. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to this, 'cause I've gotten stopped at the front of the line a lot, and so that's why I noticed this, is that, like, it's like they'll let a couple people in from the general queue. That's why the times are longer because they want you. They're like, "Oh," all these people are like, "Oh my gosh, these standby lines are so long. I might as well just pay the $25." Because they're just feeding people the whole like, they're not even it's almost until, like, no one's coming through that they're like, "Okay, now the general public can come in." And I just find it very irritating. I'm not against it. I'm not against lightning lanes. I wouldn't even say I'm against Genie Plus, like, great, go ahead. I don't care, like, I'm not gonna spend it. But I am not a fan of how they feed the line, and that's what I'll say.
there is actually a formula.
There is.
I don't know the exact number. Yes, because when I was in the line for Ratatouille in Disney World,
Did you count? Were you counting people?
no, no, no. We were talking with the person who manages that, or like the cast member who's there, and they were letting us know like there is a formula where it's like for every 15 guests, it's two standby people, and then point 0.1 or like point 0.5 single rider.
That's ridiculous.
So like they have like a calculated formula that these cast members are doing. So there is it's not just like there's no theory behind it. They do have a formula.
I'm not surprised that there's a formula, but the formula is ridiculous. Which, by the way, they should have a formula, and they wouldn't be Disneyland if they didn't. What?
You're also asking a under or probably an underpaid cast member to do a lot of math and counting as many people as they do.
Well, I'm sure they're not some of them are probably not precise, but the ratio and the proportion is ridiculous. Because I mean, back when, like but think about, like, if you remember when there were, like, the manual fast passes and whatever, and you'd be in the shorter line, like, it was flipped. The feeding was flipped. It was like the general line is going, you're just bypassing, like, the waiting in line part. You're not bypassing, like, the waiting to get on the ride part. You're just being fed straight into the same place. You're just bypassing waiting 20 or 30 minutes, which is still a great by the way, still a great thing.
For sure. Yeah, any time, any time off of that.
But now it's like, if you get it, it's like, oh, you just walk onto the ride, and then everyone who's been waiting in line for, like, an hour is basically because here's why it's ridiculous. Why it's ridiculous is because, say, you're constantly feeding that lightning lane. Well, what happens is, oh, you finally get a break and there's not as many people walking through, so now you get the general line going, and then what happens, it's the next lightning lane time by the time you get through all those people, and everyone's not coming at the exact time because 'cause they're getting off a ride or finishing their food or whatever.
Mhm. So I actually looked up the actual ratio. Normal operating hours, it's roughly 4-1 or 80-20 ratio for Lightning Lane to standby guests at the attraction's merge point. So that point you're talking about, the merge point. But what you think we're assuming this is what you're saying is like the merge point is much farther into the ride for Lightning Lane now, where it's almost like they're just walking right on the line, where your merge point is much further back.
Um, I think what I'm saying is that the ratio should be flipped. If that's what you just described, then yes.
Yeah. So every one Lightning Lane for standby. Although that might be Disney World. I don't know if Disneyland has a different one.
Well, it might not be the same one, but I'm sure they have something similar.
It's got to be.
And, again, my experience is with Disneyland, not with Disney World. more so. Like, I haven't experienced it in the same way.
I don't necessarily have a problem with the Genie Plus. Like the first time I used it with my son, it was, I mean, we got every ride in Disneyland done by like 1, 2 o'clock. And that's like the perfect execution. Where I think I think it's just a matter of the execution, how they're using it. Where I think a real fix for this, in my opinion, would be taking that same concept of the fast pass, not getting a physical ticket, but you still have to go to the ride. And then, they got the magic bands now. Most people are starting to get most of those. Like, you have to go to the ride to physically check in, say, I want a lightning lane. So that way, like Joe Schmo in Adventureland, completely across the side of the park, is checking on his phone, or like somebody in California Adventure is checking in saying, I want a lightning lane, and booking all of them up for the whole day. If it would just reduce, I think, that amount, like you physically have to go to the ride.
I wouldn't even go that I don't even care that they do that or don't. I think it's the execution of the whole entire, because even if they kept everything the same and they just switched the way that they prioritize how they feed the line, I think I'd be okay with it. My brothers got it when we did a family trip. Which I told him I was against it. I was like, "Why? I know how the line flow works. Like, so what? Let's just wait in line." Like, because some of the rides that they would wanna do anyway, it's like we'd have to get separate. Like, if we wanted to do Rise of the Resistance, we'd have to get a separate one anyway. If we wanted to do, if we wanted to go to Cars Land and do that one's also separate. That doesn't make any sense. I think we went on a busier day. So there's that, and then one time I spent the day for my birthday, and I said, "Oh, it's my birthday." Like, I don't usually go on rides, like, all day, but I wanna make the most of it, so I upgraded for that reason. At the time, actually, it was more so because then I'd have access to pictures, because that's before they gave pass holders photo pass, because that wasn't originally part of the thing. Again, more technology.
I would say I do like the fact that I have like the photo pass too.
Yeah, get those castle pictures.
All the ride photos saved. Like, now I go and, you've seen my goofy photos trying to make it as funny as possible on these rides. Digressing to like the Genie Plus, like, not I don't think I don't think we're both saying it's not a bad idea. Just there's obviously problems with it. And I think the way I definitely, when they did it in Disney World, there was major problems, because what was happening when they first did that in Disney World, people were able to do it when they booked their trip, like at home. So then, even before the day you're going to the park, like 3 months ahead, all of the lightning lanes are booked up for the day. You basically had to book your trip further. Like, you could do this 6, 7 months in advance and then book all your lightning lanes for that day. So then, if you booked it 3 months in advance, you're trying to book your lightning lanes, you could be completely, but before even finding out but getting the Genie Plus, you could be completely SOL. Like, oh, I just paid $20 for Genie Plus. There's no lightning lanes available for the rides because they're all booked.
Okay, I have a question. So that's a Genie Plus thing where you'd have to, like, pay and upgrade and add, because my friend planned our Disney World trip. This was prior to COVID, and I think prior to you got 2 max passes a day, and you had to book them way in advance, because she'd be like, I don't like planning my Disney trip. I plan every minute of every day, that when it comes to vacationing, someone else needs to plan it for me. I have 0 interest. Thank God my friend is, like, ultimate planner, listen to all the Disney World podcasts. It was my first trip to Disney World, I think hers too. So she's, like, calling me and telling me, "Oh, I booked this," I had no idea what she was talking about. Is it the same thing? Because I knew that, like, because this is, like, 3 months ahead, and she's like, "Hey, I booked these." I was like, "Why are you booking?" And at this point, I'm a pass holder at Disneyland. I'm like, "Just show up and do the park." Like, I'm very confused on why we have to plan this. So is it the same thing, booking all the different times, and is it unlimited, or is it how does that work? The only familiarity I have is prior to the Genie Plus, where it was just, "Hey, each day of your reservation, you have 2 max passes," because we, like, an upgrade to that. So she's like, "You get 2 max passes, you pick what 2 rides you want the max pass for, and you can pick the times earlier."
Prior to Genie Plus. Yeah, it used to be that way. They fixed it now, so it's like Disneyland, and that's where it's. I think you either have to be on in the resort and check, like, actually, yeah, you have to be in the park area, if I remember right, because even trying to do the Tron virtual queue, like, had to physically be on Magic Kingdom property to do that.
The midday queue, not the early morning queue.
Yeah. So you can't. Yeah, I think the resort guests get to do the early morning one, but the midday one, you have to be in that physical park, making that. Lightning Lane. So they fixed that. Like that was a big major complaint when it first released. So that's been corrected as far as I know. I go Disney World once in a blue moon, so I'm not 100% on how those work, but I definitely do know that that's how that works.
More than me.
Fair, fair. Um, but I know we covered Genie Plus a lot. There's another thing I definitely wanted to talk about. Another, they'll call it Ryan's gripe for the week. Actually, there might be two today.
Let's do it. Is this gonna happen every time we have, an episode? You're like, "I just went and here's what I'm complaining about." It's
There might be. There's actually two, and I'm wondering if you're having the same issue I'm having, or it might just be a me thing.
been a couple months, but we'll see.
So when you're making your reservations or you're doing anything on the app, and you know how it goes from the app, and you have to convert it to the web page to do other functions, are you having issues where it's not recognizing your password and then it locks you out?
No!
No.
Hang on, is this just a you thing that this happens to? Because this is not the first time you've told me that you've gotten locked out of something because of a password, like, issue.
Yeah. I know you sent me like it was a reel or something a couple months ago with the guy who was like making fun of his like, oh, you want to make a like he's like two personalities. One was him as the Disney app, one was him as the website,
Yeah.
and he was going back and forth between the two. He's like, I want to make a park reservation. Oh, you got to talk to him. I want to make a dining reservation. Oh, wait, go talk to him again. But yeah, it's like every and the password's correct. And I'm wondering if it might be an issue because I know I had like two. It was weird. I had two Disney accounts, and then I had to get them merged. So I'm wondering if there's still like a disconnect there. But like, yeah, same thing last week.
Under the same email?
On the same. It was very odd. I don't know how it happened, but I did it. Very odd.
That's like something weird is just happening with you in technology because I feel like that's not a common like, it's nearly impossible to try to set up an account because 'cause it'll tell you this there's already an account under this email unless, like, unless your keychain is saving multiple passwords. Other than that, like, it shouldn't let you log in.
That was that was my other thought was maybe that the keychain had a separate password for the app than it did the actual website.
No, it doesn't, but that's weird.
I don't know, but okay. So good news. It is just me.
I mean, I'm sure there's other people, but I don't think that it's, my problem sometimes is that it autofills my sister's account because our Disney Plus account was under hers and it's all saved in my keychain. So it's like it auto like fills and I have trouble and I have to like, no, 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 it's my account, not hers. But that's a me thing, not a actual thing.
Huh. If okay, so listeners, if you are having those same issues, please hit us up on the socials. Let me know because if it's not just me, it'll make me feel better.
Please address these complaints to Ryan.
Please let me know if I'm just technology stupid. All right, so second gripe of the week, kind of led up to this prior to us recording here was mobile food order. Okay, went to Tiana's for the first time, tried the food there. It was actually pretty good.
You hate mobile food orders. So this is where we can really get into it because I don't hate it. I have issues with the concept and the idea from a principle standpoint, but I think I mobile food order everything and you don't, right?
I'm getting the hang of using it. So I'm getting I'm it's growing on me. I'll word it that way. Like especially yesterday too, like dining reservations and stuff. Was able to get into my second time in my life getting into Blue Bayou yesterday. But the mobile food order from Tiana's. It was actually I hit all of my luck until the point where I actually had to go pick up my food. So I mobile food ordered. I had like 30 minutes, and I saw a nice line building up outside of Big Thunder Mountain, which had been closed. And I'm like, I got 30 minutes. Let me go just walk over there, kill some time. And I look over and I could see the ride trains like going through their test runs. Hop right in the line. The cast members are trying to tell us like, oh, it might be an hour, it might not. 5 minutes later, we're all walking right on a Big Thunder Mountain, leaving me 10 minutes killed. And so I managed to get on Big Thunder Mountain, like only ride I went on that day. First time I ever walked right on it. Came right back off. Looked at my time, like, oh, I killed enough time. Head over to Tiana's. Tell them like, okay, do the whole. I've arrived. Prepare my food. Do that. I'm looking at the screen, and then all of a sudden it flips to, thank you. see your order review in this window. And it wasn't like ready for pickup. It skipped the ready for pickup part. It just said thank you and you know, enjoy your food, whatever that screen was. And I'm like, did somebody else pick up my food? Because I didn't do anything. Like I didn't press any buttons. All I did was prepare my food, and that was it. So I had to go. Like I walked up to the window and I showed the lady the number, and I'm like, normally it says like your food is ready, but it kind of skipped to the end part, and somebody had picked up my food. I don't know how they picked up my food.
That's a normal complaint.
I know, but if that happened to me with beignets, I would have probably been a little bit more frustrated.
Not if they were grape ones.
They did manage to get me the food, and it worked out. And it was delicious. The chicken gumbo at least was, and the cornbread. That cornbread was phenomenal. Not happy with their beignet either, which I wish I had done that before last week's episode, because that might have added onto that. But either way, that's my complaint of the. Those are my two gripes of the week.
I'm also not giving this one to you. I'm not giving this one to you because this is like, because first of all, that's just stuff that happens, and the fact that they like properly handle it. Because I think that like people get frustrated with technology, but like I don't get frustrated with technology because it's technology and things are going to happen. I get frustrated with how people handle, and I don't mean like the person it's happening to, but like if you call customers and you're like, hey, this, it's like if both parties understand technology is technology and technology happens and like sometimes it doesn't work and they can communicate as human beings, then great. Then who cares? But it takes both people, right? It takes the person that's being the victim of the technology and the person they're going to help them out with like the issue. And that's why you also need competent people handling those things, not just a person to say like, oh, we have a person that's like, well, I don't really know what to do. Make the person feel good about like, I don't know why this happened, but we're gonna fix it because it's our bad. You have to also take responsibility for the tech errors, and I think they do a good job of it. Okay, so let's talk mobile. So let's talk app and mobile orders. The Disneyland app. Love it, hate it, leave it. What?
Uh
Love hate relationship with it.
it is such a love hate.
Same.
I think again, being able to like things like being able to see the ride times on the apps, convenient. Also inconvenient because then everybody is just looking at the app ride times. And oddly enough, I don't think there's a single time I've looked at an app ride time and by the time I showed up to the ride, it's the same time. And I think it's because, like, for example, oh, I see Indiana Jones is somehow 30 minutes. I'm going to go rush over there real quick. By the time I get there,
80 by the time you get there.
so it's like I kind of gave up on even looking at that as a reference, but it is a nice feature. It is convenient. It's like, okay, if you get at least a somewhat of idea of like what areas of the parks are being busy and which ones are not. It's also convenient for them as well too. There's a lot I like about it. I think it's and it's not even a Disney fault thing. It's just people relying so much on it. And I get it. You know, you're paying so much money for your tickets. You want to maximize every second and every dollar that you're spending there. A lot of like my favorite times I go to Disney is when I'm just there and I just enjoy what's around me, like not looking at my phone. Like the days when I'm going there by myself and I'm just enjoying the park is one thing. When I'm there with like a group and I'm kind of being the person relied on to use the app, which is fine. I don't mind doing that because I like helping friends and family with like the tips and secrets and making the most out of their time there too. But I am usually miserable the entire like I feel bad for all the parents that are the person in that role that's basically the park planner in the phone all day. Like, okay, like I gotta make this dining reservation. All right, I'm gonna get this lightning lane. Okay, I'm doing this, like, you know, having to have a battery pack on your phone just to maximize your experience. I think it takes away if you're a family of five, the one person who's, you know, unless you take like my dad takes joy in that. He loves doing all the park planning stuff. Like he doesn't really care. So, but that's more, he gets the gratification of making everybody else's time good. But if you're that person and you know, you're spending the money too to be there and you got to be the one doing all the stuff on the phone just to make sure your family's having a good time, I feel it takes away from it in my personal opinion. It's like there's a good use for it, but then there's an overuse for it. The mobile food ordering would be great. Like I want to be able to order the food with family in ride, and when we're out of the ride, then we head over to the restaurant. We've maximized our time because now we're not waiting in line to go get food. Can go eat, sit down, enjoy, and then go on to the next thing. But when you got to do every little thing in the phone just to enjoy your day at the park, and then you miss out on the show, like you're sitting there in the show and your family's enjoying it, and you're like, oh, I got to book, do this, do this, do this. What time's the next thing? Like it's good for information, but then I think there's a point where now it's being overused, and I think it could cut back a little bit.
That's the scary thing about technology. Like, because I mean, I'm a victim. I try to anytime there's a new technological advance in anything, I'm probably one of the last people to jump on board. It's because I know myself, like humans. I'm averse to it because I know what the end result is going to be, which is like I'm going to become reliant on it. I already know that I'm going to be reliant on a certain thing where it's like I'm going to not take that plunge until I absolutely need to for whatever reason because it's but like you said, like, you're a slave to the app when you're at Disney. I love a good app. I love anything that makes my life convenient. But listen up, people. We need to stop loving everything that makes our lives convenient because we become slaves to the things that make our lives convenient, and it takes away from, like, being present, I think, and especially when it comes to Disney and being on the app because one of the reasons I initially decided to become a pass holder and be intentional about spending extra time at the park throughout the year. Because before, I mean, I was maybe like 2, 3 times a year, I'd have a Disney trip, and it was great, and it was fun, and eventually evolved to, like, going once a month for creative time. Well, it's not as creative as it was before because I'm on my phone half the time, and what people used to ask and it's funny too 'cause some of my friends are like, "Oh my gosh, how do you make your phone battery last?" I'm like, "My phone's on airplane mode because 'Cause I'd get into the park, and at the time, I had a physical card that was my annual pass anyway, so I don't even need my card. The only time I ever took my phone out was if I was taking a picture of something, which wasn't very often, and I'm like, "Oh, this castle looks really pretty in this view or like whatever." I would turn my phone on airplane mode. I'd take it out if I was taking a picture, if I like had a really great creative idea and I'd put out my notes. So like my battery would last the entire day, which was great if you're at the park morning till close and you still have battery, like what? Because also like you're a little bit lower when you're in the park, like from street level. So your if your phone is not on airplane mode, fun tip, technological tip, phone is not on airplane mode, what's happening is your battery gets drained because your phone is constantly trying to connect to a tower or to like Wi-Fi or whatever. So it actually kills your battery. Fun fact, everybody. So that's why I keep it on airplane mode, not just like put it away. And I don't need to. And then I'm unreachable to people. I don't see text messages. I don't see social media. I'm present in the park. The problem happens when I have to take out my phone. I have to go on the app because what happens is you're like, oh, well, let me check my Instagram. Oh, I have some time. Oh, someone sent me a text. Oh, let me check my email if you're me. This is what happens to me. I don't know who else this happens to. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is like you're literally taking your phone out every single time you want to do anything at Disneyland. Oh, what ride should we go on next? Like, by the way, is it takes away from the magic for people who don't go very often because, like you said, they're kind of like, oh, we gotta, we're in line or we're watching the show, and now I have to figure out what the next thing we're gonna do is. I know the parks and I know the line flow for the most part, like what rides are busy at certain times. Like I know the flow of the park. I don't even need the app, and it's like taking time away from someone who like knows where I'm probably gonna go and what I'm gonna do next and have my day planned out. I will say I do like the idea of mobile order. What I try to do is I try to plan out my day and snacks. I try to place all my mobile orders at the beginning of the day because you can pick time frames. Because you can always go back in and like adjust.
Dole Whip, you can't
When I get to the park, my Dole Whip, my Diet Cokes, my like what else? My beignets, whatever I don't mobile order much anyway because I'm not like eating constantly all okay, maybe I am a little bit, but like there's only like 2 or 3 major snacks like I really get that I like know when I'm getting them. So I'll place the mobile order. But then it's like, oh, well, like I'm gonna go DCA. Like, let me see what seasonal stuff they have. So you're just like on the app trying to figure out what do I want to eat? What are all the restaurants? What's the wait time here? Can I get on this wait list? And it gets kind of annoying. But then it's not even okay. I do my mobile. Let's say I schedule all my mobile orders. What happens? It's 12 o'clock and it's time for me to go get my Dole Whip. I've taken out my phone. I have to say, I'm here, prepare my order, and I'm staring at my phone until my order's ready. By the way, mobile order, super convenient. I love it because I'm not waiting in a Dole Whip line, which used to wrap around. Now, but here's the other thing. Some of these places don't even let you wait in line. So even if you wanted to play it old school and not wait in line for something and not do mobile order, I mean, sorry, not wait in line. If you didn't wanna do mobile order. I mean, there's the Tiki Hideaway where you can wait in line there. Actually, they don't do mobile order at all, so you have to. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that the one behind it?
Yeah, the Tiki Hideaway. Yeah, the one that's behind it that has, like, all the millions of flavors of, like, Dole Whip things you can do, and they have, like, the bao and, like, all the other stuff.
Because now the normal Dole Whip, the one in front of the Tiki Room, you can't wait in line. It's all mobile order now. So
You can't wait in line, yeah, it's mobile order only, yeah, which, I mean, like I said, it's great because if I place my mobile order early enough, all I do is, like, hit it, I'm there for 2 minutes waiting until it's ready, but it's very efficient. Which I love efficiency. But all I'm saying, Disney, we need balance. We need balance with the technology. I do like the reference point of like being able to open the app and say, okay, what are all the show times? Like when are the parades? When are the Dapper Dans? When's the band? Like I like that I have that. But there used to be a map in the middle of the park and you'd go to the map and they would always go in and they would change the times and it's like, so also not in real time, which is great too, because you're like, oh, let's go here if you wanted to see like what the wait times were. I know there's some parts of the parks where they have a couple of those that are digitized. So okay, fine, digitize it. I don't care. Make it easier on yourself. But the fact is that like I do have to bring a charging pack with me. I'm always on my phone at Disneyland. I hate being on my phone at Disneyland because I just want to like be at Disneyland. But also I feel like I have to be because then if I'm not, then I'm not taking advantage to your earlier point. I'm not taking advantage of all the things.
so while everybody else is locking up their lightning lanes first thing in the morning, Amanda is locking up all of her mobile food orders for the day. She's booking every single one.
Yes, I am.
I can't get my beignet at 6:15 because Amanda's locked that up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
There's other opening. No one else is doing that. No one else is doing that. It depends on the day, the season, and the time I get to the park.
Going kind of back with like the Genie Plus and like kind of incorporating that, where I liked the Fast Pass is like when you went to that you went and you physically checked in, not relying on the Disney app and having to physically go down there and then check into the ride itself. When you got that time, it was still relatively close to the time that you did check in over there, which kind of almost forced you to stay within that area and then exploring and taking like where kind of people talk about like, oh, a lot of people don't hang out in Tomorrowland. Mind you, there really isn't a lot there, and it is a land that needs a lot of work. But when you physically have to go there and you're close to that time, then you kind of forces you to stay within that area and then go eat, go do whatever, and explore the areas itself. So that's where I think that would be a great fix for it. Again, you're relying on the app to, I mean, you either the Magic Band or your phone where you check in, you're relying on that. You're still getting a close enough time, and then it's diluting or it's removing the folks who are like on the complete opposite side of the park from taking up that lightning lane. So it would be less walking in my opinion, where you're going basically side to side to park. It kind of forces you to stay within the land that you're in at the time, explore what you're there until your lightning lane time and then go. Because it kind of worked like that with the virtual queue for us with Tron. Like we had the Tron virtual queue time. It forced us one to stay in the park, and then two, it forced us to stay within the Tomorrowland area of Magic Kingdom because we're like, okay, we're like getting close. So let me go ride on Space Mountain here real quick. Let me go ride on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which it's still not necessarily in the same land, but it's close enough. So you're not getting people going park side, so that's where it's like the convenience of the app is that you can see the times and you can make these reservations, but maybe let's reel back some of that convenience and it might take advantage of or bring back some of the like let's explore the areas of the park because that we're in because now you're kind of forced to be there.
I have not gone to Disney World as much as you have, but do you think the usage of the app and the problem with the app from, like, an experiential point is more of a Disneyland problem than a Disney World problem? Because I don't recall being on my phone as much when I was at Disney World. And I'd never been to and, like, I've been to Disney World 2 times. Like, I've had 2 Disney World trips.
Is it more of a problem at Disneyland than Disney World?
And maybe you don't have an answer yet.
That's a little hard because again, it is once in a blue moon for me, and maybe because I have gone so much. Like when we go, actually, most of the time when we go, we're doing hotel hopping. We don't even really care to be in the parks as much, and we already have like a game plan, and we've already done most of the right. Like when we get like if when Guardians of Galaxy Rewind, sorry, I know there's the confusion every time I do that. Galaxy Rewind open, like when I went that year, I'm like, if I have to do a ride, it's going to be that one. If I don't do some of the other stuff, like it's not kind of a big deal. I just from what I hear perspective wise, though, I think it's worse there than it is here.
People being on the app or just the app itself?
People being on the app because I think kind of like the same point. They're there for a very specific amount of time. There's more there, and there's more they have to use the app for now too. So now, like your hotel, like your room key is on your phone app.
Also on your wrist.
Yes. Well, that's thank you for bringing because I was actually going to be my transition question, but once I finish this statement, I just think if I had to answer that question now, I think it's actually a bigger problem in Disney World than it is at Disneyland right now. I think it's progressing that way because what I've noticed is a lot of the technology we're getting at Disneyland is being tested at Disney World first, where it's kind of weird the reverse, like with the parades. I think I mentioned this a while back. Is the parades are tested at Disneyland and then brought to Disney World, but the technology is goes from Disney World to Disneyland. So, with that said, my transition to our next question is: do you have a Magic Band Plus or Magic Band? Either one?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
No need. I don't even want the app on my phone. Why would I want to? I don't wear my Apple Watch. I want to wear another thing on my, like, also, I'm a fashionista. I coordinate all my outfits, including my bracelets. I do not want to be wearing something on my wrist. I have 16 watches so that I have a watch that matches different outfits.
So I have the Magic Band, and it doesn't really do much in Disneyland now. I know it does a lot in Disney World, but why I like the Magic Band is I don't need to take my phone out to check into the park. And if your phone die, even if the battery on your Magic Band dies, it still checks you in, and it's less time. I'm like like you said, like every time you're getting to the park, you're gonna have to turn. You don't have the physical pass anymore. You have to log into your phone, hold it up for the person to scan in, and then chime you through. With the Magic Band, I don't even have to take my phone out waiting in line for the park entrance. I just literally just go up, show the wrist, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think at Disney World it's great because I did the first trip we did. My friend got us like the band, like she got us bands or whatever because we were staying at one of the hotels too. So it got us into our room. You check in and you just scan it on the little thing, food or like you can connect your credit card, photo pass, everything. I think I think they're great for Disney World. I think they make 0 sense at Disneyland because they're different parks. I mean, it's nice to like get into, but honestly, like it probably I think it's a different dynamic at the park. It's a different First of all, it's a different feel, right? Like it's completely a different feel. The app makes more sense at Disneyland than the bands. It just doesn't seem like a big functionality that makes any sense at the Disneyland parks. At Disney World, actually think it's probably one of the best things. And also it keeps people off their phone because if you have your card and let's say you're gonna go wait in line for something and you're gonna pay just using your band or, you're getting pictures taken and you just, like, hit the thing with your band. I think it's great, actually. I don't see the functionality of it being great at Disneyland.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that their infrastructure is way behind in comparison to Disney World. For example, the front entrance.
They're different parks. They're different parks.
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff, like we're talking about, like getting off the phone, the answer a lot of that is that Magic Band. Like you go mobile food, like for example, you're gonna go check in for your mobile food order. Suppose to having to pull your phone out to say your mobile food order is ready. You have a kiosk stand, scan your band in. Their screen shows up. Okay, this is the person picking up the food order. Bring boom bam. There's your mobile food order.
You don't have the space. You don't have the space at Disneyland. You don't. Magic Kingdom is bigger in, like, square footage and has less attraction.
Somehow, somehow.
So they have room for stuff like that. Like, you don't have the room for it in Disney, which, by the way, also a reason makes the park more intimate, and which is why Disneyland is better than Disney World. Don't at me, anyone. That's a different episode. We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
So obviously, your perspective is a nay for Magic Band. I am definitely. I'm going to say I'm personally on the plus side.
Tell me, okay. Are you on the 4 side?
I'm on the plus side because I know that I definitely know they're even going in that direction too. Like soon, your hotel rooms at Disneyland are going to start having the same. It's going to be the same concept.
That's fine, that's fine. If I wanna use my phone or if I wanna use my Magic Band, fine, I don't care. Again, it's the difference in the parks. Most people going to Disney World are staying on property. Most people going to Disneyland are not staying on property. There's 2 hotel now there's 3, I guess, right? Yeah, there's 3 Disney properties in the Disneyland area, okay? And I don't their capacity is not even, like, anywhere close to some of the Disney World resorts.
No, not even close.
I don't think, like, if that's your leading priority makes any sense when you're making a decision that affects, like, your general population of people going to the park. Most of those people aren't staying on property. I mean, most people going to Disney World are most likely staying at a Disney property or something close anyway, because there are also so many. So it might make sense that but if that's your deciding factor for that, I don't think that makes sense. If there's other factors, like, okay, the entrances. Right now you have a person sitting there and they scan your ticket and then take your picture if Disney doesn't already have your picture, which is a Disneyland thing, not a Disney World thing. But Disney World has a partial of your fingerprint. So I don't know what I like better.
You're not going to like the fact that that's what they're building now. So
Well, I know you told me that, and I was like, "That's dumb," because also I think it takes longer. Again, I don't have a problem with it at the Disney World park because that's what works for them. They also have, like, a way wider entrance.
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
There's it's not as congested, and I don't mean, like, necessarily like a space thing, but I mean, like, the congestion of the park. Like, you get into the entrance of any one of the parks, and there's still a lot of room till you get into, like, the fullness of the park. It's the gate and it's the park in Disneyland and DCA. That's the only tiny barrier to entrance. It gets crowded, like, right after the gate too, and there's, like, a lot of people and whatever versus coming in. So, I don't know, that's just a thing that I noticed. I That's why I don't think those I don't know. But also, like, if you have your phone and you just scan on your app, then fine, because you can download, like, even, like, how if you have an iPhone, like, the wallet thing, like, your ticket can just be, like, on your wallet, and it'll automatically scan it anyway.
Can you do that now?
At Disneyland, I don't think so. At Disney World, you can.
No. Okay. No, I mean, other than even at Disney World, other than the hotel, that's the only other use it has for it. It's the same. It's the park entrance. You got your wallet if you really want to use it. I know that there was some, I don't say controversy, it's not the right word for it, but the intention of putting the payment method on that is so that you're more a little spend happy as opposed to actually physically pulling out a card. You're more spend happy when you just have a band and you're just like, oh, like I'll look at the room charge later type thing.
Because there's opportunities to wait in line. There's more opportunities to wait in line and order and get things at Disney World than there are at Disneyland.
Sure. In my head, it's just it takes you off the phone more.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing that that's, like, a case, but the thing is I don't think that it would at Disneyland. Think about it. If we're saying that the difference between using your band at Disney World and Disneyland is, like, you can have your credit card attached to your Magic Band, so you can, like, go to wherever and you can purchase stuff. There are very few opportunities that you can do that anyway that's not, like, one of the emporiums where you're shopping in Disneyland. Because there are places that you can't even wait in line at Disneyland, you have to do mobile order. That was my point. My point is there there's no use for it because everything's mobile order anyway.
I'm tracking now. Okay. So yeah, there's less line. There's no lines the way to. Okay.
There's fewer opportunity. Mean like, what I'm saying is it doesn't make sense because, like, I can't see myself using my app less that I have my Magic Band on at Disneyland.
Okay. I'm tracking. There's yeah. With we were just talking about how many mobile orders. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. There's less opportunity for that. I'm assuming if that's the direction that they're going, they're probably going to make it more geared toward the Magic Band. I mean, you see when you're in every store now, they're selling them left and right.
Well, yeah, they're everywhere, but it's so stupid because it's not functional. Like, it's not overly functional to a point where it makes any sense. Like I said, Disney if I went to Disney World very frequently, I would get a Magic Band. I'd get one. I'd have fun with it. I'd be like, "Okay, cool." I'd go get a customized one. Because it makes sense at Disney World. It does not make any sense at Disney. It's literally to sell merchandise, okay? And I've said this before, is are you making your decisions to make money? Because that's the Genie Plus thing is you're building in a way so that you can force people to want to upgrade because you're like, oh, this line isn't moving, but look, the lightning lanes are. I might as well upgrade, even if I'm not using it all day and I can even if I because I talked to someone about it and I tried to convince them not to get a lightning lane. Yeah, maybe at the beginning of the day, but at the end of the day, maybe you have one or two and it's like ridiculous. Yeah, but you know what? It's worth it even if it's like 1 or 2 rides. That's what they said to me. That's the problem is you're not saying, "Let's come up with an enhanced way to make the experience better," which is what they say. If you're money forward, you ruin the experience. Because if people are having good experiences, they're gonna spend money.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so let me throw out a situation for you then. Let's see if I can convince you to get a or what would convince you to get a magic band. So they redo the gates. Or their proposal is we're going to redo the gates with the kiosks like we do at Disney World. And I kind of told you about this. They tell you you have to get a magic band, and we'll give you the pass holder entrance
If I had to?
if you had to.
That's not a question. If you had to, then you had to. You said, "What would make you decide to?" And then you said, "If you had to."
What I'm saying is, in order to use the pass holder entrance, you have to use the magic band. You could use the other entrances.
First of all, that sounds so stupid. Like, no one would say that.
Money grabbers.
What would the difference be? Like, "Oh, well, you have to have a no, because it would have to be a blanket rule. You can't blanket rule it.
They can do whatever they want. It's your choice.
Now they could institute a line that is just that, like, clicking thing, and it only takes magic band. So it's like the only way you could get in through this particular line is if you had a magic band. That makes sense, but then you have the other people who don't, and it's like, okay, the lines are longer. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do that because it's shorter, so let me get a magic band. That makes sense.
That's what that's what I'm saying. The pass holder line is magic bands only. The other non-pass holder lines you can use both. Would you get the magic band to use the pass holder?
That's not how you said it. No, you said pass holder line. You did not say a magic band only line because there's a big difference.
Okay, she doesn't want a magic band.
You have 2 qualifiers on a line. You can only have 1 qualifier on a line. You can't have 2 qualifiers on a line. Listen, I've looked at them also. I don't like their design. Why is there not a really cool Sleeping Beauty one? I'm gonna say this all the time. There is a need for Sleeping Beauty merch, and I just think that it is such an underrated. I would buy all of it.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, you could take the I don't know, not call it the chip, but there's people who will take the chip part out of it, and then
Yeah, you go on Etsy. I've seen things on Etsy.
there's that. But
It doesn't make any sense to spend the money. Like, it's like, if I'm gonna drop 30, $40 on getting, like, a nice band that I like to go with my magic technology that's on my again, also part of it is I don't like wearing technology on my wrist. I have an Apple Watch. The only time I put it on, which is when I'm exercising, which is also not very often. Maybe if I'm trying, like, if I feel like it's a necessity in, like, what I'm doing, where I'm going, that, like, I need to have notifications on my wrist, I'll put it on. But it sits on the charger all the time because I don't like. First of all, I feel the technology. I'm like, oh, this is hot. Like, why do you want technology on your wrist? First of all, so that's why I personally am just not a fan of wearing technology as you're, like, flashing your are you checking your notifications?
I'm checking my heart rate now, and I could say like that's what I would do. See how your heart rate gets when you get passionate and heat in the moment here. That'd be used for the time.
I don't need a watch to tell me what's happening in my body, I can feel it. You need to stand up. Well, no kidding.
That one just needs to go away. Especially because you all you have to do is this too, and it'll be like, oh, thanks for standing up. Like I didn't even stand up at all.
It has its perks. Like, listen, I'm not bashing like that. I just don't like the technology. However, like I said, I do when I was at and the last time I was at Disney World, I was with one of my friends and she has her magic band on because she's a pass holder and we went, whatever. And it's like very because and she used it a lot. So if it's being utilized, I don't have anything against it. I'm just not motivated. There's no motivation for me to spend that money on a band. Knowing me, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, there's a new one." What? Also, I'm like, "Is this gonna match my outfit every time?" That's what I'm thinking. But also, aside from getting into the park, the only other way I see myself using the band would be PhotoPass. That's the only other usage I see for it, which would be convenient because I have to take out my phone every time and then, like, usually I just screenshot it and then I'm like, "Okay, here's scan." So that's inconvenient. But also, here's what it goes to. It's how can we possibly make your life so convenient? Because you're asking me what would make me do it. It's like, "Oh, well, if my life was 30 seconds more convenient in this way, then let me do this." And that's a big, big dangerous thing in life. I'm sitting here complaining like, "Oh, well, you know what? Actually, you're right. I have no use for it, but, every once in a while, I like to take pictures at Disneyland when they have PhotoPass, like, if the pumpkin's there, I'll wait in line or the tree and, like, maybe do some magic shots at the castle. I'm like, I really don't like that I have to go into my app and hit the link, like, get the thing or turn my phone off airplane mode. So you know what? Like, let me rely on this new technology because it's gonna save me 30 seconds and frustration because all I'm doing is just like, "Here you go, here's my wrist." On principle, that's a very dangerous path to walk. I'm not gonna lie and say that wouldn't make my life more convenient and take out a lot of frustration when I'm taking pictures. But aside from the or scanning the little thing at, like, rides when you're instead of, like, also, why are there not QR codes at Disneyland when you wanna have the ride picture? Why do I have to type in the thing every time?
Fair.
Tangent on techno you wanna do all this other technology, put a QR code on there.
What's funny is that this was supposed to be the topic I was passionate about, and you're you're the fired up, heated up one.
I'm not necessarily passionate about the topic, but I could be passionate about certain things.
It does work with the photo pass, you do know though. Not with the rides, but with like the when you get like the photos taken, the cast member will just touch your band, and you get the phone. You don't have to take your phone out for that.
At Disney World.
At Disneyland too.
Where? Like, when you go to the kiosk, like, you get off Space Mountain.
No, that not there. I'm talking about like the individual, the photographers who will take, like, you want a photo in front of the castle or the tree. You don't need to take your phone with them. You just do that.
Oh, yeah.
The rides would be I mean, they don't do that at Disney World.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that would be a fantastic idea. Like, you go off the ride and you find your photo.
Yes, I tangented about the rides because at Disney World, they also do, like, facial recognition and, like, somehow is your picture, and I didn't even do anything, like but, yeah, I just tangented because I'm like, they wanna do all this technology adjustments, but, like, at Disneyland, what frustrates me the most is I have to go into the app and I have to type in all these letters and numbers, but I'm like, "Why are you not putting" but also, "Why are you not putting a QR code on there and I could just scan it and it goes into my PhotoPass?" Like, that doesn't make any like, how is that not a thing? But you're like, "Let's talk about all these other technolo" it's weird to me that that's not a thing because 'cause I'm pretty sure that's not a complicated thing.
Shh. How many QR? No, not how many generate the QR codes?
I can go on QR code generator right now and type in any website. If you put it in a way where it's like because what you're doing is you're putting the number anyway.
Oh, I know.
If you're randomizing a QR code, like, hundreds of times, that's not complicated technology.
Yeah, their Disneyland is very far behind on their technology.
QR codes, though? Come on.
Especially, typing in the number, and in Credit Coaster, you get that photo right away. Space Mountain, you sometimes wait a good half hour to find out you mistyped the wrong digit on the code, and now you got somebody else's family photo. I have at least 2 or 3.
So if you did the QR code, you know it's, like, legit. I mean, I always take a picture because 'cause I'm running fast so I can type it in later because 'cause I'm like, "I'm not gonna sit here and type this in my app."
Or you get a nice Mickey-themed scanner underneath each photo thing, and you walk up and you go, "Boom."
That's what Disney World has the scanner right underneath, so you just scan it. I would be okay with that. Again, it's only PhotoPass,
That would be use.
and that'd be my only because, I have to mobile order everything anyway, like, there are very few things that you even can at Disneyland, like, wait in line to get, or that it even makes sense to make wait in line because the refreshments corner, it's sometimes quicker to just mobile order than wait in line there, or the beverage place in DCA, like, the line is always long.
When you walk into the park, the front gate, Disneyland, not California Adventure, Disneyland, be it just random odd question, probably not even technology related. Do you go left or do you go right? Is there a right answer? Do you go left or do you go right?
Where do you go?
I've asked you first
Do you go a certain way, or does it matter to you?
every time.
I go right every time.
You go right, yeah. It's the flow of traffic.
The flow of traffic, which also people do not understand in society, including at Disneyland.
But so this is why I also asked this, is because I do go right every time, but I've noticed every time I go right, I'm stuck because there's a parade that goes by.
Do you always go up parade time? Do you not already know every time that there's a parade? Do you not have the parade schedule memorized?
No, not I don't look at the app. I don't look at the app to go check it out.
It's the same time every day. Every day the parade is at the same time.
I don't even realize what time I get there sometimes. But if I changed up my routine, or changed the routine, if I go left, you can still go around, go through the Emporium and all that. But
And I know how much you love those parades.
I do. Oh, they're not bad. Just I when I'm first getting to the park and I don't want to be stuck by a parade.
I'm excited for a parade episode.
That'll be the one you take the lead on for sure. And I guess, okay, so that's a nice transition to our final topic here, is the drone shows. Your thoughts on that?
I wrote that down. I wrote that down.
and I have not. I mean, I haven't seen any of them personally.
I think I well, in general, I think drone shows are subliminal messaging, so
You elaborate a little bit more on that?
'cause visual, like, stimulation, stuff like that, like, you can send subliminal messages and stuff like that, I don't trust it. So that's a whole different topic, but what I'll say is I love fireworks, and I don't like replacing fireworks. So if you're not replacing fireworks for me, then, like, do whatever you want. I've seen some videos on stuff, and it's super cool and creative what they can do. But that's the problem in society. We have to use our brains sometimes, where it's like, "Yes, that's so cool." So, I mean, I just naturally, like, I'm a person who goes my thinking always goes to all the implications of something. So that's where I'm going. Most people's minds don't, and it's probably better for their sanity. It would be better for my sanity too. But I just think of the implications of everything. Because if we're thinking when we think direct causality with things, we can get ourselves into long-term trouble, and we can affect things we don't intend to affect. So if we're saying, "Oh, hey, we're Disneyland, and you know what? It's a lot cheaper to do these drone shows." And also, "Oh, look how cool it is to do these things we can't do." And people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Cool." But also, like, the more technology that's being used at Disneyland, the more we lean into, like, these drone shows. Let's take out the how it affects society and our brains for a second, and, like, what it does to the experience at Disney. What I have always loved about, and, like, I mentioned before, 21 was the first time I ever went to Disneyland. And it's like, yeah, part of it's like, oh, you feel like a kid, but it's the reason I kept going is because you feel like you're having a human experience, regardless of if it's like, oh, all the magic and all this. There are lots of people around. You're interacting in one way. There's bubbles. Like, there's a lot going on. There's an and what was so great, like, to the point about, like, turning off my phone, putting on airplane mode, is the world is so loud with technology and, like, busyness and chaos, was that it was a place, for me at least, where all of that was turned off. The world was turned off when you went to Disney. Like, you were in Disneyland and the world was turned off.
Which is its intention. They designed it specifically so you feel that way.
Yeah, I don't think drones do that. I don't think drone shows add to that. I think it takes away, because what is it doing? It's taking what's happening in the outside world and it's bringing it in somewhere. And I'm not saying, like, don't update and upgrade your technologies. Half of these rides though are using the same freaking technology when they were built. Like, can we think about that for a second? That's pretty remarkable.
The same ride track for the Matterhorn that breaks every 30-year-old and up spine every time you ride it. Just hurting.
Well, a 30-year-old shouldn't be riding on the Matterhorn then.
Burn.
I think we need to have multiple conversations about the effects of technology at Disneyland, and, like, we should do a whole, because what something I wanted to get into too is, like, how does technology taking the magic away from. This is definitely not the only conversation you will all hear about us ranting about technology, but since you asked about the drone shows, again, in the sense of looking at something and saying, "Oh, wow, look how cool this is." Absolutely. Like, I've seen some videos. I've seen different drone shows, like 4th of July. People are like, "Oh, these drone shows are gonna be a big thing. It's better for the environment." It's from just like looking at it, you're like, "Wow, that actually is so cool." Like, it's basically for Disneyland, it's basically the electrical parade in the sky,
Mm. Electric Light Parade.
right? For people who have witnessed an electrical parade, which I think also is, like, the most genius thing. Yeah, but it's up in the sky. Super cool. Like, awesome. As long as you don't take my fireworks away. Are you making it more flashy? Like, what's wrong with what you have? And I don't know. This might be a longer rant than I need it to be. But you say what you gotta say.
Yeah, so I don't see it replace. I know in Disneyland Paris, that's what they do instead of the fireworks shows, but stateside, I don't think that's the replacement for it because you even think about it too. It's not going to replace fireworks because if it's raining, drones aren't flying. If it's high winds, drones aren't flying.
They're also canceling the fireworks if there's high winds.
So either way, it's not like you're getting anything better out of it.
Cheaper. It's way cheap. Do you know how much cheaper it would be for Disneyland to completely eradicate? They already don't do as many fireworks shows as they used to do fireworks every single day. And they don't anymore unless it's, like, a really, really high busy season, which is annoying because I go during the weekdays, like, sometimes hoping, like, when I take vacation time.
And they don't do fireworks during the week.
Yeah, it's very sad. And then, like, the weekends I do go, it's like they end up being canceled. Sometimes I think they cancel on purpose, but that's my whole little conspiracy there. To save money. I mean, I get it, it's really expensive and, like, give these perks and you have to have, like, the fire department like, I get it. But also, That's what you signed up for when you said we're gonna be the happiest place on earth and we're gonna make everything magical. That's the price you pay.
Yeah, I see it being because the Disney World one, the one that I'm seeing being thrown out there is the updated version of the Electric Light Parade. So and that being my favorite parade growing up, seeing all late at night and all the lights and everything flashing and the floats, my favorite parade. I see it being just like an additional show, but I don't see it ever replacing it.
100% will replace it. 100% will replace fireworks. They might do them on like special occasions,
Like seasonal time of year.
or they're gonna do less of their fireworks shows because they're gonna say, "Oh, look how popular this is." If it was just like an extra cool thing that they added, yeah, also super cool, minus the whole like maybe you're trying to subliminally brainwash me. If it were to ever occur, it'd be an easy way to do it. But then also so is television, which is also probably doing the same thing. I ain't mad about it. I'm just saying it's happening.
But even if that is, I mean, we're talking cost too, and it, short term it might be cheaper than fireworks, but in long term, you're going to talk about constantly having to replace them, constantly having to update them, whatever maintenance they require, the people to run and program them as well too. So I mean, there's all going to be costs into that. So I don't know. I mean, I do agree.
Which is why they would cancel the firework because they say we have to pick one and look how well this is. So that they would utilize that. I mean, we're just debating on what they might do.
I think there would be an uproar if they got rid of the fireworks.
What is Disneyland without fireworks?
Like when you think Disneyland, you think those like so when you watch a Disney movie and they do the opening scene with the panning into the castle, is it going to be? It's going to be a bunch of drones in the opening of each Disney movie flying over the castle each time.
That's probably why I love Disneyland is because of the fireworks. I'm like, they do fireworks. I love fireworks. I would have no problem watching fireworks every single day of my life.
But I definitely know there's some cool stuff they can do with that. But I do agree it shouldn't be a replacement. I hope it just doesn't replace the classic Electric Light Parade because that is one of my favorites by far. But like maybe even in addition to it,
They haven't had that in a while though. When's the last time they had the electric parade?
last year.
They brought it back for wasn't it like the anniversary they brought it back? But other than that, I hadn't seen it. It was 2 years ago they had brought it back because they also had the electrical parade macaroon. Great snack, by the way. I got a picture of it somewhere. Of course, I'm gonna have something to say about a snack sometime soon.
Oh, maybe it was 2 years. It was 2 years ago. That's right. I wasn't a passenger yet.
I think they only brought the electrical parade back because they had stopped doing it. I think they only brought it back for the anniversary.
If it was additive, I think it's fine. Like if they was additive to the electrical light parade, that'd be cool, but not as a replacement. Yeah, because it was when I first moved back out or moved here. I didn't move back out here. When I first moved here, I did not realize growing up that was not a thing all the time. Like every time I'd gone to Disney, it always was there. And then to move out here, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see the electric light parade. And I'm like, it's not here. Where'd it go? It's my favorite thing to see. I mean, the other one's what is it? The Wish one now, whatever the one that came out last year. That one's really cool, but maybe it's just a nostalgia thing. Half of this is just nostalgia. Just me, as far as me liking parades, like not always like, oh, I love to go and see every show like you do.
Don't go see every show.
When it was Electric Light Parade, I sat my butt down and I watched that thing. On top of booking the mobile food order, she's already got the times, place for each show that she's going to go see too. That's her plan day out.
Yes, that's true because I like the entertainment at Disneyland, which is another topic we'll discuss. The honest truth is I don't think there's any going back with any of these things, right? I don't think there's going back with the app. I don't think that there's going back with how they're doing things technologically. It's only really going to move forward, but I think it's important to, and especially for anyone who's listening, is as people, we should always be aware of what we're doing. Um, and when we're at Disneyland, we should also be aware of how much time we're spending on our phone and the app and realizing like what's necessary, what's not. Because the reality is like, I don't know that I could go function at Disneyland without the app today. Where I couldn't have said that 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I could have showed up, not touched my phone. I could have not had my phone at all. And I could have been able to enjoy and spend the whole day. I don't think I could. I don't even think I could be like, number one, I can't get into the park without my phone. What if my phone was dying? What if like I can't get into my app? How the heck? Don't say Magic Band.
I knew it going there.
Don't say Magic. I knew it.
Oh, I don't have it on. I should have worn it for this episode.
Uh,
So I guess the question to the listeners then is Is the app, are you feeling like you have to use the app too much? Do you like using the Magic Band? Do you not like the Magic Band at all? Do you think there's other uses for it? As well as, what is your priority? Is it the mobile food ordering or is it booking your lightning lane? And show times and show times as well.
I check showtimes. I I mobile order and I check showtimes. It's not like it's nice. I don't mind. I think it's great that the app exists. It's awesome. But also, like, we're so reliant on it. And also like you you can't not be.
Yeah. The only technology I think Disney needs to implement right away right now is the security scanners that are from 1980, 19 whatever.
Hey, don't hate on the simplicities of security standards. I never had an issue. I don't think that I've never felt that it's like, and that's the other thing with technology. It's like, what technologies do you implement? What do you not implement? It's like, what makes sense? Like, if you're going to spend the cost, I don't see that the cost of that would elicit much more of like a benefit.
The newer ones though, they're faster. They walk through. You walk right through them. You don't have to take anything off. You don't have to go through the bag. Or I think you still have to go through the bags, but
I don't feel like I went through a bag line at Disney World.
probably not. No, no, you still have to, but it's literally, you're not sitting there like an old security scanner. Wait, the guy asked you to go through. They push hundreds of more people through it because you're just walking through it and it pulls it up. They have a couple of guys on the screen. That's something that needs to happen. With how many people they're pushing through for capacity, it's not. It's if you're taking the tram, sure, you're still going to wait in the tram line and all that.
I don't know if that alone would push more people through faster. What's annoying is like the bag check.
Bag check is annoying. Yeah,
Not annoying that they do it, but sometimes like because think about it, like you people who have kids and they have like backpacks and then they have like their bags like with their food and like it just
you could push your stroller through it. But where I'm getting at is like venues outside of Disneyland, because Disney World uses it, but venues outside of Disney, stadiums, concerts, sporting events, all use these scanners.
do you want Disneyland to be more technologically updated?
At least the security checker, yes.
I don't. I think they're fine. I think they're fine. I don't know if it's the nostalgia. I don't know if it's there's already so many like we're talking about all these technological updates and that they're testing tech at like Walt Disney World and seeing, you know, and I don't have a problem like with Walt Disney World, like do whatever you want. The park's old, like newer, like in a way. It's also built differently and there's so many of them and it's a very different ecosystem. I think you have a really great refine what you have for sure, but the more you're pushing the extreme, like, let's upgrade the technology, make it look like that, so I think you're losing the magic of Disneyland.
Well, you're not even in the what I'm saying. You're not even in the park yet, and
Exactly. Are you kidding me? Just driving past it, I feel the magic.
okay, but with the scanners do will actually give the security folks an actual image of what is being scanned. So you're even getting a higher.
Exactly, and you know what that's gonna do? It's gonna take longer. It's gonna take longer. Have you ever been through TSA? Have you ever been through TSA? Do you know the upgraded TSA scanner things that they have actually take longer than the old school ones? I hate those things.
But I'm not talking about those scanners.
It doesn't matter, it's still the same concept.
You're not stopping at all. It's a constant moving line, and they can identify people with weapons and, I can say guns and knives and whatever if it get bleeped out, whatever. But it's a higher security there too for those who are concerned with that stuff too.
That alone is its own episode.
We have to say we'll tease that for a later episode. Upgrading security scanners,
I didn't know I'd be so passionately against upgrading the security.
like on the apps and everything else, and then the security scanners. I'm kind of shocked at that one. Like this is, I thought that was just an easy kill. It's
Hey, I am too. I didn't even know you were going to ask about. I've never given those a second thought. But the second you started asking about it, I was like, well, if you want my opinion, I'm always going to have one for whatever reason. It could be wrong. That's fine. But we're here. I'm here for the opinion.
that's what we're here for.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to our rants on technology. We promise we will talk more about all of these topics. Let us know what specific topics, technology or other, that you have. Um, it's it's going to be a fun ride. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a fresh episode, and follow us on Instagram at Magic Key Chats. And again, if you have any topic suggestions or just want to join in on the conversation, feel free to DM us on our Instagram or send us an email at magickeychats@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us on Magic Key Chats. And until next time, may all your dreams come true.
Thanks for stopping by.